Well, I guess you could call this the end.
Hey, I'm Adam Stockdale from Albatross, and today I'm here to record an LR Baggs handcrafted acoustic video series.
I held hope there'd be a chance we might mend.
I'm originally from England, and I'm a singer-songwriter living in Nashville. Music is probably my earliest memory. I got my first guitar for Christmas when I was 4.
For the love that you gave, the investment of time you made, all the money you saved for those plans well laid.
When I was a kid, my dad gave me a big stack of records and stuff that really shouldn't have been for someone probably of my age, but it was great to just experience music from the 60s. And my earliest sort of entry into guitar was just all about Jimi Hendrix. And then I went for ages, I just went down that kind of rock route, and I love Van Halen, which is really funny. I'm sure no one that hears my music would think that that's kind of what I love. I just love music. You know, if you categorize yourself as like, I'm a folk musician, you isolate everything, both what people think you can do, but also what you have access to doing. And I just don't like that. I don't feel any reason to be like, I only want to do this. I mean, like, it's funny, you know, every now and again when something comes up in a song or whatever, you know, all those hours practicing Van Halen songs comes in handy, you know, at some point, because it's kind of like, well, yeah, I can do that, you know. And you might not bust it out very often, but I mean, every now and again it's fun, and it certainly in this town, it's made me be able to have a much broader spectrum of musicians I can play with. I'd been in a few bands that were just very frustrating for me, so I was kind of like, well, I just should do this on my own. And then basically I was on tour with a friend's band, and they were like, do you want to open for us? And I was like, well, I'd never played a gig on my own at that point. I was like, if I don't do it, then I'm going to miss out on a great opportunity. So I just kind of jumped in at the deep end, and it turned out all right. My new record was finished in the fall of last year, and it's really feels like an emotional milestone of achievement for me, as well as a musical one. And yeah, it's called Desperate Times Best Forgotten, and I'm really excited about releasing it. I'm doing something super unusual. Basically, what I want to do is I want to remove the micromanagement in between audience and artist. So I don't want a label. I'm not going to work with a label. I'm going to self-release. I paid for my record. I own it. And basically, I want the people who help me sell it and believe in my music to be the ones that can benefit from it too. So it's called the Word of Mouth Project. I've got a website that's going to be a holding page for that, but it's not finished yet. But there's information about it on my website, which is albatrossmusic.org. Being a tech is definitely something I completely fell into by accident, but I kind of always have been a gearhead. With the gear, I was always fascinated. I wanted to know who used what amps and what pedals and how people got sounds, and I'd try different batteries and different orders, and some with power and some without. And so I'd always taken a lot of pride in having a good sound and being interested in how to get different sounds. And I went to college and did woodwork for 2 years. So I also had a pretty good understanding of that side of guitars.
When I wake, I don't want to partake in a life without you.
Much the same as this town and playing with music, and, you know, how we found through the LR Baggs family, and, you know, all the people that we all know together. Like, it just became something where everyone I've kind of kept in contact with, now that they know I'm, you know, kind of focusing more on just playing music, is like, oh, great, you know, we've had a good relationship for years. It's like, I'll help you, what do you need? LR Baggs was on my radar pretty early, as soon as I started playing an acoustic guitar, basically. It's been a long journey to find an acoustic sound that's good live. You know, in the studio, you can use any guitar, use any mic. There's just not the parameters that you have to adhere to when you're playing live, especially with an acoustic instrument, you know, which is, you know, has a lot of problems with feedback and a lot of problems with earthing and buzzing and all that kind of stuff. And I just was looking for a product that, you know, sounded good and was reliable, and didn't cost the earth, you know. And I've used the M1 for years. Like, it works really well for me because I finger pick, and I love that it gives a lot of the low end and it still has clarity. And I just don't get the issues with feedback. And certainly when you start to play with drums and stuff, you have to be so cautious with an acoustic sound and making sure that it cuts and you can hear it, and it's just always worked for me. So, I mean, I don't remember anybody specifically kind of introducing me and being like, you should try these. I just, being into gear, was like, I'll try everything and then see what works for me. And it was definitely like, the M1's been the most kind of consistent thing that I can just always rely on in any scenario. And again, being a tech, like, I've introduced so many other people who play music to being like, look, this is something that's, you know, good. There can only be a handful of acoustic guitar pickers out there that I have not tried. You know, tried everything, be it for someone else or be for myself, and I always come back to the same one. It just works for me. And the Power EQ, a really good friend from England called Pete Rowe. He's a great acoustic singer-songwriter. And I remember being in a pub in Brighton called the Rainlar, and he was playing, and he had one there with him. And I was like, what is that? That's the best sound I've heard to that point. You know, I was like, I need to know what you're doing. And he was like, you got to get one of these. It's like 150 quid. I take it everywhere I go. And I've had one ever since. I've got 3 right now. I use one for the banjo. I use one for my stomp box. They're great. It's just reliable, it doesn't break, and it doesn't cost a fortune.
But I